Alright, so if you guys missed the news, a 100% reliable leaker, Nin10doland, came out the other day and said that there is going to be a Nintendo Direct next week, that his sources have confirmed this. Now, he does state he doesn't know if it's going to be a general or a partner. He thinks it should be a general, but he could see it end up being a partner too. Personally, I just think it has to be a general Direct. People are clamoring for the next big first-party game. Investors are clamoring for this thing. Nintendo stocks are going to need this. Like, the Switch 2's early life cycle still is going to need something like this. So, personally, I think they absolutely have to go with a general Nintendo Direct. This is not the time for a partner. But, of course, everybody is clinging on to one thing that he said. Now, he gave a lot of predictions, just what he thinks is going to happen. Once again, what he thinks is going to happen. I know some people are going to take this out of context today, but the only thing he knows for sure from his sources is that there is a Direct next week. But he thinks that there's also going to be a 3D Mario game coming out this year. Now, he doesn't say specifically it being announced in the Direct or anything like that, but he thinks that this holiday game is going to be the big 3D Mario game. And he also mentions how he just kind of expects this to happen simply due to the fact that Nintendo really does need that big system seller game, and this is probably going to be it. Not probably, it would be it if it actually happens. So like, everybody's been saying this and losing their minds thinking, oh my gosh, 3D Mario, 3D Mario, 3D Mario. And there's a lot that I want to talk about this today. I don't want to talk about just the likelihood of this happening, but I want to talk about what the likelihood of this game is actually going to be, because I've seen a lot of comments online that I don't necessarily agree with. But before we get started, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things 3D Mario and Nintendo in general. We are getting closer to our goal of 400,000, and you can make that happen today by leaving a like and subscribing. Let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from this video alone. Thank you so much for your love and support, and let's dive into this Direct news. So, it seems like there is a potential for a 3D Mario game to be revealed next week, and a lot of people are wondering if this is actually going to happen. If there is going to be a big holiday 3D Mario game, I do feel like the February Direct has to be where they reveal this thing. Just similarly to how they kind of did that with Mario Odyssey, revealing it in the 2017 Switch presentation, and giving us until October until it came out, filling the year with tons of hype and excitement for the game until it released, which kept us very entertained for the entirety of the year after Breath of the Wild's release. I think something similar could very well happen this year. I think, I don't really see Nintendo. I know they did it with Donkey Kong Bonanza. I know they did it with Mario Kart World pretty much, but I don't see them waiting until like June, the summertime, and saying, hey, huge, crazy new 3D Mario game is coming out in just a couple of months. Like, they have an investors meeting, a pretty big one coming up in the next couple of days. They got investors in general really wanting to see, big games from Nintendo and stuff. I feel like their big holiday title kind of has to be revealed at this February Direct, no matter what it is, even if it's not 3D Mario. So yeah, I think that's why everybody's eyes are really looking to this February Direct right now. But I want to go back to Nate talking about this game, because even though he doesn't have a direct source saying that a 3D Mario is going to happen, and he's just straight up predicting this thing on his own, I think, there's something to be said about some of his predictions, is because he normally has some good insight into the industry and what Nintendo should be doing. One key example is I remember almost everybody was predicting a big 3D Mario game to be revealed during the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. We knew Mario Kart was going to be there, but we was also really expecting 3D Mario because it's just been timed the same way it was for Mario Kart. But not only did Nin10doland predict everything that was going to happen with the Switch 2, not really predict, he leaked everything. He knew the date of the presentation, he knew a lot of the contents of the presentation, but one thing that he just straight up predicted without having a direct source on was that 3D Mario wasn't going to be there. I remember him specifically saying in a podcast, because it hurt my soul to hear him say, do not expect 3D Mario here, he doesn't think it's going to happen. He said, now there's always a chance, but he just doesn't think it's time for that yet. And look at what happened, it never happened. And I remember thinking he was crazy for predicting something like that. Like, there's no way in the world, but he was right. So I do think he has some sort of information, whether or not he admits it or not. I think he has some type of good industry, or even if it's just like he's good at predicting things, he's good at reading Nintendo. I don't know. It is strange to hear him just come out and say, hey, I'm kind of predicting 3D Mario now. So that does kind of raise my awareness at least a little bit. Now let's just play the game that the next 3D Mario game is finally revealed next week at the end of the Direct or something, right? And everybody's excited for the thing. but what does it take its form as? Like, what is this game going to be? And it's something that I've talked about over and over and over again, countless amounts of times, and I've pretty much came to my own conclusion of what I think it should be. But I'm seeing online so many people the last couple of days all saying Mario Galaxy 3. It's time for Mario Galaxy 3. Nintendo, give us Mario Galaxy 3. This has to be Mario Galaxy 3. This just makes so much sense for Mario Galaxy 3. And I've never been so in a disagreement about a Mario thing like this. Like, I don't agree. I'm somebody that was absolutely on the train for a 3D Mario sequel, and my candidates have always been Odyssey 2 or Super Mario Sunshine 2. As a huge Sunshine fan, I've always wanted to see what a new game could look like with better controls, more FLUDD options and mechanics, and, you know, a larger, more expansive world of islands to explore. And Odyssey 2 is always an absolute dream of mine as well. I loved Super Mario Odyssey to death, and was the only 3D Mario to finally beat out my favorite of Super Mario Sunshine. And I felt like having even more capture mechanics of enemies and objects throughout the series past would be so awesome, and it just made too much sense. But after years went by, I kind of lost my excitement for these things. I didn't really want a sequel anymore. I just couldn't imagine this October being 9 years since the last original 3D Mario game being Super Mario Odyssey in 2017. 9 years since we had a 3D Mario game, and all of this time was dedicated to a sequel of an older game. It just didn't sit right with me. I don't think a lot of people would be that excited. Like, it took them 9 years to make a sequel to Odyssey, 9 years to make a sequel to Sunshine, and I feel the same way about Super Mario Galaxy even more. 9 years to make a third Super Mario Galaxy game? And I'll be honest, playing Mario Galaxies 1 and 2 for like the 100th time last year, I've came to the conclusion that I just don't have as much fun replaying these games as I do the other 3D Mario games. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, you know, the extreme linearity of the levels, Mario's limited movement compared to things like Sunshine and Odyssey, and just how slow it takes to get through some of those levels and track through some of those worlds. I don't know. Personally, I just think Galaxy is just not the 3D Mario for me the way it used to be when I grew up with it. I still think it's a 10 out of 10 game, both of them, but it's just not for me as Sunshine and Odyssey are. I love that free range of movement that Mario has in those games, and it's just kind of restrictive feeling when you go back to Galaxy after playing something like Odyssey, and I just don't think a Galaxy 3 would make a lot of sense. I mean, Galaxy 2 was made on leftover ideas from the first game. I don't think there's much more you can do. We've experienced every single type of biome, from desert, lava, ice, and we've experienced almost every mechanic that you could possibly do in space. I'm just kind of tired of the whole space thing. And I've seen people say, what if Galaxy 3 is like an open galaxy or a new way to play Galaxy, you know, with crazy new mechanics, you can fly to any planet that you want and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, but it would still have to play as Galaxy 1 and 2 did. It would still have to have very similar controls, very similar movement, because it wouldn't feel like Galaxy in that point. They would have to keep the game in line with the other two, which I'm just tired of that type of movement. And I don't see how they would have a structure with something like Super Mario Galaxy being very linear, and then having a third game out of nowhere be an open world Galaxy game. It just doesn't make sense to me. Believe it or not, when I look at where we are right now, if we were getting a sequel to any game, I would not be too upset with seeing a sequel to Super Mario 3D World, just because that game is very different than the others on the list, and it's something that's just very strict linear levels, but fun levels to get through, find collectibles, and play with friends. And I wouldn't mind seeing something like that again, but even with that, I do not think it's time to see that on the Switch 2 right now. I get that the Mario Galaxy movie is coming out, but it doesn't mean that the game has to be a Mario Galaxy game. Absolutely not at all. I mean, they've already released Mario Galaxies 1 and 2 again. We don't need a Galaxy 3. And the reason why I want to step away from maybe a linear 3D Mario game or even another 3D sandbox game like 64 Sunshine or Odyssey is because Donkey Kong Bonanza just came out and gave us something very similar to that. Donkey Kong Bonanza felt like an Odyssey 2. It was made by the Odyssey team. It was low-key kind of meant to be Odyssey 2 on the Switch 1. It was planned for Switch 1 until it got bumped back in development to better use the hardware of the Switch 2 for the voxel technology. So Donkey Kong was our Mario sequel. This was our Odyssey 2, but I don't think it's our 3D Mario replacement, because I've been saying for a very long time now, I think this next 3D Mario game doesn't need to be linear, it doesn't even need to be open sandbox, it needs to be open world. Now, I guarantee you there was about 50 audible gasp angry reactions and smashing cell phones against the wall when I said that, but hear me out. Open world 3D Mario game just sounds like the most obvious thing that Nintendo should do right now. Regardless of how you felt about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom switching the formula up for the Legend of Zelda series, it actually brought in so many new players and easily became some of the best games not only Nintendo's ever created, but some of the best games in video gaming history and regarded as absolute legendary titles. These games brought so much new, unique, fresh air into the Legend of Zelda franchise, and honestly, as someone who loves classic 3D Zelda, I still hold these games near and dear to my heart, Breath of the Wild specifically. I wasn't too big on Tears of the Kingdom. I think that's exactly what the Switch 2 needs right now, is one of those giant open air games to really sink your teeth in, where everyone's talking about how beautiful the world is, how fun it is to traverse, and just how amazing the game looks. I personally don't think there's a single experience on the Switch 2 that gives me the vibes of Breath of the Wild, and I think that's exactly where the next 3D Mario game can fill its shoes in. Now, people immediately scoff at the idea of open world 3D Mario simply due to the fact of where open world gaming has taken its roles in the last couple of years. It feels like either every game is open world and the open world games that we do get are just not good. They're barren and boring, and I think a lot of people have Mario Kart World stuck in their minds right now. This is a Mario Kart game, for one. It never should have had an open world. The 3D Mario team is not the team that worked on Mario Kart World, and Mario Kart World's open world was never supposed to be this big, explorable area where you can find Easter eggs and cool things to do and have a story mode. It was clear that this mode was made to be a Tony Hawk skate park. It was made to be this big world where you could jump off rails, ride on walls, and play around with the landscape in a free and lighthearted way. This was never meant to be a big open world adventure game. As much as I wanted it to be, I don't think it was ever meant to be that, because personally, I think I was placing all my 3D Mario wishes in this Mario Kart World open world, and that just didn't happen. But I don't think the 3D Mario game has to be like that. Who's to say the next 3D Mario game doesn't have a beautifully well-crafted open world that's not too big, but more contained and breathing at the seams with life? People will cry online about how open world Mario will ruin Mario forever and it's just a horrible idea, but then they'll also go online and praise Bowser's Fury endlessly, not knowing that Bowser's Fury is literally an open world 3D Mario game, the first of its kind. It's just done so on an incredibly small scale. You can go anywhere you want and get any cat shine that you want in Super Mario Odyssey. You do have to unlock new islands in order to traverse them, but yeah, there's no hub world, there's no jumping into a different world and completing missions, there's no getting a star, being shot back out of the level, or having a very linear level at all. It's just free open world bliss, and everyone that I know loves Bowser's Fury. I don't think a single person in this world thought Bowser's Fury was a bad game. There were things to do around every single corner. Not a single piece of any of the islands were left with nothing to do. This game was entirely a blueprint for something to come. It just felt like it. The only problem with Bowser's Fury is how short it was. Everybody wanted a bigger, longer version of this game, and that's exactly what I believe that the 3D Mario team is working on. Yes, an open world can happen if it just avoids the common mistakes that open worlds suffer from. Having a way too big world with not enough to do in it, and as you can see with Bowser's Fury, it fights all those complications. A small world with tons of stuff to do, a fun and engaging boss battle that's set on a timer to keep the world fresh and moving and evolving, a world littered with platforming challenges to keep Mario's core gameplay the same. This is still a 3D Mario platformer even though the world is open. I think the best outcome for this upcoming 3D Mario game is for it to feel like the Mario movies, where you have this huge expansive world, you can freely run around Peach's castle, you can finally, for the first time ever in a mainline Mario game, run around Toad Town, visit the Toads, see them running around and going about their daily lives. Maybe all the NPCs are set on a timer similarly to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and they all are going through tasks and doing their own thing, and some of them have missions for you to complete out in the world. But then, after you you leave Toad Town, you have this gigantic world with fun biomes, the desert, the soda jungle, the snow caps, the ocean. Just think of New Super Mario Bros. U's map, but a fully explorable 3D adventure. And no matter where you are in the world, there are tons of platforming challenges for you to complete and take head-to-head around every nook and cranny. You will still have your classic platforming action, but now with even more exploration at mind. I genuinely think this is the best way to go. But of course, in order for this to work, Nintendo really needs to nail this open world and fill it with tons of Easter eggs, secrets, and stuff that people can find and talk about online for years to come. They have to really go all balls to the wall with this one. And I feel like, you know, after 9 years of waiting for the next 3D Mario game in this October, yeah, it kind of has to be worth it. And it's truly the reason why I believe what else could be making this game take as long as it is. Like, if this was just a sequel to an already existing game, are we going to have to wait 9 years? Is that the new standard? 9 to 10 years for a sequel of an already existing game? 9 to 10 years for another linear 3D platformer? And I'm about to say something that I wasn't even going to say at first, but you know what? If it makes you mad, it makes you mad. We kind of already got our Galaxy 3 with Astrobot. I'm sorry, that game felt like a true spiritual successor to Super Mario Galaxies 1 and 2. In my opinion, I think I even like Astrobot more than Galaxies 1 and 2. And no, I'm not trying to be this old PlayStation better, Nintendo worse thing, but Astrobot was genuinely an incredible experience all the way through. My wife loves this game, and it's honestly one of her favorite games that she's played. It's definitely between this and Kirby and the Forgotten Land for her, but daggone it, she loved Astrobot. The linear levels felt very expansive with tons of hidden collectibles to find, extremely cool movement and new items around almost every single level, extremely engaging boss battles, and awesome world themes. After playing this game, I don't even know if I would necessarily want a Galaxy 3 from Nintendo, because I would just want to go back and replay Astrobot. Not to mention the movement of Astro just feels so much more smoother and quicker than the way Mario moves in the Galaxy series. But yeah, maybe that's just me, but please, go play Astrobot. Even if you love Nintendo to death and you hate PlayStation for some reason, go give Astrobot a try. I promise you, you will absolutely love this game, because if it was made by Nintendo with any other of their IPs, you guys would be praising this thing. Yes, Astrobot is that good. Now, something else that's pretty interesting is Astrobot only took 3 years to develop. This game took 3 years to develop, and it looks as good as it does, runs as good as it does, and has little to absolutely no flaws at all. So I'm like, if it only took them 3 years to make something like this, how in the world is it taking Nintendo almost 9 years to make the next 3D Mario game? That's why in my mind, it kind of has to be the craziest, biggest experience we've ever seen Nintendo take, and a sequel is just not going to cut it in my opinion. But back to the start of this thing, do I think this is going to be revealed in the next Nintendo Direct? No. I'm telling you, I've had so many DMs, messages, and fellow people on Twitter saying, believe this is the time, believe this is it, get excited, this is it. But I can't. I don't have it in me anymore. Like, it blows my mind how this game still hasn't been announced, and I am not trying to be let down and completely in the dumps again when this next Direct goes by and we get everything but this 3D Mario game. So, am I expecting it? No, not yet. Do I want it? More than anything else in this freaking world. So, yeah, I am very, 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 very hyped for this new 3D Mario game. But I'm proceeding with caution, as I think you should too. I am not going to tell you guys to get hype about something anymore until it is confirmed, because daggone it, I cannot go through the same process of grief again. I'm done with it. So I'm keeping my expectations extremely low, but who knows? Maybe next week is the week. Probably not, though. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you think it's finally time, or we're going to be waiting for a while still. And thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all have a blessed day. See you guys.